Hey everybody, and welcome to another Chairman of the Board review. Today we're taking a look at Raise, which is a 2 to 5 player kind of bidding and bluffing style game that takes around 30 minutes to play. Now before I get started on my review of Raise, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer, and if you use the link in the show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. So Raise is going to look like this when it's set up, and the central board is simply a track to show your progress in the current round. You're going to have 7 dice, and the first player is going to roll them and allocate them to the matching symbols. So you can see I've rolled these 2 hourglasses, therefore they'll go next to the hourglass symbol. You can often actually roll blanks, which will obviously not be associated to any of the 5 symbols. You have a deck of these scorecards where each round the first player will reveal it, and that's going to be the amount of points available for the round, amongst others, which I'll touch on shortly. And these range, I believe, from 6 all the way up to 20 points, and depending on the player count, there will be more or fewer of these removed from the deck. Now each individual player will get given an identical set of cards, as well as a marker to track your progress on that board, and each player will draw 6 cards, secretly add it to their hand without showing them to the other players. And you can see that these will correspond to those different symbols on the map. I've not got a good range here, I've only got the bells and the clouds, but the general principle here is that the strength of these cards will be determined by how many of those symbols are rolled. So you can see here that this bell card is a strength 3, and because there's only one bell symbol, the one imprinted on the board, this will be a strength 3 card. Whereas if I played this cloud 3, because not only does it have the one on the board, but also one of the dice have been rolled, this is going to be a strength 6 card again, because 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, so let's talk about how the game works. So the starting player is going to roll those dice, put them on the symbols, and flip over the available points card for the round, and then each player is going to simultaneously choose a card from their hand and reveal them at the same time. So let's just say that the black player chose this one, the white player chose this one without obviously looking what I'm going to get here, and the grey player chose this one. And you're going to work out your score on the board. So again, this is going to be a strength 2 card. So 2 times 2 is going to be 4 for the black player. This is going to be a 4 times 2 for the white player for 8, like so. And the bell is going to be a 3 times 1 for a strength 3 for the grey player. Now, once these cards have been played, they're going to get added to the score pile, because not only are the points from the round card going to be available, also each card that has been kind of added in the round will also contribute points based on this number here. So generally the higher value cards will offer, say, 5 points, whereas the lower value cards will offer 1 point. So after those initial simultaneous cards have been used and your markers have been placed on the map, the player who's furthest behind on the track, in this example the grey player, will have the option to either play more cards until they take the lead, or to pass out of the round. So again, completely random, I'm going to draw this card and play this one here. This is going to be another 6 contributed to the grey score. So they'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Therefore they are now in front, and therefore they are kind of past, well, they're done for the round, and it'll fall to the black player to take their turn. But of course this is going to be another point up for grabs. Now me, as the black player, I don't really like the look of the cards in my hand, because again the rolls don't really fit me too well. Therefore I'm not going to add any more cards and kind of line the pockets of the other players by contributing more cards. I am going to pass and be out for the round, and this is the only opportunity where you get to draw up. So you don't actually draw cards as you go, you only draw back up to 6 after you've passed, like so. So now we'll be in this situation where the white player is furthest behind. They're going to play another card. This time they've drawn or played a 2 hourglass. It's going to be 2 times 3 for another 6. So the white's going to move 6 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And at this point, the grey might think, you know what? I'm done here. I don't think I've got a good chance of winning the round. Therefore, I'm also going to pass. And therefore, the white player, because he is the last man standing, he's going to get that 8 points plus the points from every single card that has been played in the round. So there's quite a nice little bunch of points there. The grey player will then, of course, replenish the hand, as would the white player. You're going to re-roll the 7 dice and reallocate them to the spots. Now, in this example, the hourglasses are remaining strong. The diamonds have come into play, so now those diamond cards are going to be much more useful. The cogs come into play, as well as the little cloud like so. And then also the player who won the previous round will draw the next card like so. And then each player will choose the next card in the hand simultaneously and go again. And at the end of the game, once all of these scorecards have been gone through, the player with the most points will be the winner. Now, there's also another way to score points, because any card that you have remaining in your hand at the end, bearing in mind that once you go through your deck, you will never draw any more cards, so it's kind of a one use for every single card in the game. But even if you don't, say, contribute these cards to the game, if they remain in your hand, you will score these points, making those higher point cards a lot more lucrative, and you have to think a little bit more if you want to play them or not. Okay, so let's share some thoughts on Raise. Before I go any further, though, I do want to mention that I don't think there are any English rules available for this game. So I've had to use a translator in order to translate the rules from the rulebook. So there may be a rule ambiguity or two, but I've done my best to fill in the gaps, and I've hopefully got the rules right. But I want to start by talking about this kind of bluffing aspect of the game, because there are different approaches in which you can tackle this one. Do you want to start the round by playing a really high valued card like the 4 I've got here? Considering that a lot of this matching symbol has been played, so this would be a massive 12 to start with. And you might want to do that in order to try and, say, intimidate your opponent into thinking you've got a ton of high valued cards in your hand, when in reality that might be your best card played early, and you can't really fight with anything else that you have, and you might want to kind of pressure them to pass. Alternatively, by playing smaller valued cards and kind of trickling your score along, you may entice the other players to play more cards, thinking that they might win, and lure them into a false sense of security, and then you hit them with the high valued cards, the diamonds in this example, and then you start to pull ahead, and you've managed to get all those additional points, not just for the round, but also all the ones that have been played by the other players. I enjoy how you need to pace yourself with this game, because although you do have a relatively thick deck of cards here, if you are fully competing every single round, then you're going to find that this deck gets quickly depleted, and you're going to run out of options. And that choice is amplified by the fact that your cards are based on this kind of commodity speculation mechanism where they fluctuate in strength from round to round. Now, you might want to say, play my hearts now, or my diamonds now, because they're worth, they're at full strength nearly. They're at very high strength here by multiplying by 3. But perhaps the scorecard isn't as high as I'd like it to be, so I might want to hold them on to a different round. But who knows? The future might say that all the hearts are going to be worth next to nothing because of the randomness of those dice rolls. So I really do like the fact that you have to, again, speculate about the strength of these cards, know when to pull the trigger, know when to shed cards from your hand, and it all is kind of very palpable into who does the best here. You got to strike when the iron's hot, but not be wasteful of these cards. I love the chicken aspect to this game, where if you and your opponent have fully dug your heels in, you're both stubborn, and you're not willing to pass for the round, you just keep playing more and more cards, upping the stakes by adding more and more points to that score pile. And when no player is willing to back down to the other player, it can create some really interesting tension. But at the same time, you do need to be prepared to step away at times. Even if there is a high points value, you got to just sometimes bite the bullet and say, what, I don't think this hand of cards is going to get me through that finish line and make me the last man standing. Therefore, I'm going to back out now. Yes, my opponent are going to get a huge chunk of points, but if I keep playing them, I'm only going to be giving them more points. So again, that chicken aspect, that push your luck feeling of the game is really strong with this game. And another nice touch is that the cards left in your hand at the end of the game will be straight up victory points. So sometimes you might want to hold on to the higher valued cards and just, bank those points. But at the same time, they are going to be your highest kind of contributing factors when it comes to winning the round. But Of course, if you win the round, you're going to get them back anyway, but if you play them and lose the round, you're going to be giving your opponent a whole bunch of points when you play those higher valued cards. So it's a nice little touch there, and again, just as an extra little decision in if you want to hold these cards back into your hand. The time investment for this game is right on the money. You are looking at around half an hour, no matter what the player count is, which is, again, just right. And for me, it certainly does not outstay its welcome. The game scales very well too, because if you're playing this with 3, 4 or 5 players, you're going to have a great experience. The box does say it caters to 2 players, but personally, I haven't even tried that, and I probably wouldn't, because I want that extra level of interaction. And the production for this game is fine for the money. You know, it's a relatively affordable game, so, you know, this isn't a luxury product. It does have this kind of mass market feel to it, you know, a relatively small little cardboard board, and the card stock is relatively low quality, but you don't need to shuffle the cards too much, and, you know, it's not really a huge issue. You know, all the symbology is perfectly clear and readable. I suppose the nicest touch of the game is the dice themselves, because, you know, they've got this kind of like mother of pearl look, and they are, you know, bespoke for the game, which is a nice touch. They look really cool when they're on the table. But all in all, I've got no complaints really, because it is an affordable little mass market feeling game. Okay, so let's share some final thoughts on Raise, and there is so much about this game that I enjoy. Just those little micro decisions that kind of amp up the tension and offer a lot of fun. You know, I tend to like bidding style games, and, you know, the fact that the commodity speculation part of this game is based on your currency and not on the points themselves is an interesting little twist on that mechanism. You know, the fact that you could have a great bunch of cards in your hand, you know, high valued ones, but the multiplier is really low, so you might want to sit back for this round and wait until those dice are rolled, and they'll then be worth a ton of points or influence on the board, but that might never happen because you cannot guarantee what will be rolled. You know, speculating on, you know, when is the time to fight? You know, do I push now and go for the kill? Is it time for me to back out and not give my opponent more points on top of what they're already earning? Just an absolutely joyous experience. Lots of interaction, goading each other, you know, tricking each other into backing out or tricking each other into playing more cards. If you like games like this, then I think you're going to have a wonderful time with this one. One that's definitely slipped under the radar. You know, not well known about at all, this one, but this is going to do really well in terms of being like my surprise or pleasant surprise of the year, and just an underrated game in general. So this one for me is going to get a chairman's commendation. You know, I love doing videos like this because it kind of highlights games that nobody is talking about and that nobody is really aware of. So you might have to do a little bit of searching to get your hands on this one, because, you know, I've had to buy a copy in from Europe, and again, it's language independent in terms of the components, but you will have to you know, get your own little rule book or translate or something like that. So yeah, definitely recommend this one if you like your little small box games that have this kind of mass market appeal. You know, anybody can get some joy out of this one. This is Raise.